Hey guys, Stuart Charles here, HomeStudioBasics.com, helping you make sound decisions. So today we're going to get into the Sennheiser HD600 versus the Sennheiser HD6XX XO. So first, let's get into build. To be totally honest, these headphones are built pretty much the exact same. And the cups, the grills, the headbands, the padding is all the same. So the padding is made of velour for the ear cups. All the parts are replaceable. Holding a 6XX in your hand is pretty much the same exact feeling of holding an original HD600 or 650 in your hand as well. There are some market differences which actually make the 6XX a better purchase in my opinion. We'll get into that. The 6XX is more of a rebrand of the 650. And we'll get into that comparison a little bit, but this video is going to focus more on the comparison to the 600s. So yeah, the differences between the 600s and the 6XX as far as build are the wire is a lot shorter and a lot thicker. Dummy thick. The headband padding mimics a 650 in that it's that uniform pad with the crater in the middle, whereas the 600s have those four smaller pads. In addition to being thicker, the wire being thicker on the 6XX, the cable's also a lot shorter, which is it's a lot easier to manage than the 600. The 600's cable was one of my main gripes about the headphone, in addition to the 3K area, which we will talk about later. The 600's cable just tended to get in the way. I would run over it a lot with my chair. It's just entirely too long, and it's very skinny and not, it resembles and feels more like a $20 drugstore headphone cable. Being that it came out in 1997 is kind of understandable, but in a way kind of not understandable. The 6XX improves so much on overall build. I mean, the insertions into each ear cup also resemble that of the 650s. But another difference between the 650 and the 6XX's termination is that the 650s terminated in a 1/4-inch jack and came with a 3.5mm adapter, which is just asinine.
I'm sorry, but this is just so asinine.
It's a lot easier when you have a 3.5mm with a 1/4-inch adapter, snap-on mind you. So the 6XX comes with a snap-on adapter, similar to the 600 adapter, which is also snap-on. But the difference here is that the 600 was black at the base and gold-plated, whereas the 6XX is, I'm gonna get real tired of saying that, and so are you. The 6XX is, by contrast, is all gold and has like a little grip at the bottom, but it snaps on beautifully. The 6XX is perfect headphone for like someone who's just getting into the hobby and wants to get themselves a nice audiophile reference grade headphone, because it targets that demographic of people who just want something simple and effective and not have to worry about the crappy cable on the 600, 3K area of course, and or the 650's bulky 3.5mm jack. So the 6XX is a midnight blue. It looks super dark at night, of course. The color actually looks black at night. In the light, you could definitely tell. It looks a little bit tackier in the daytime. I much prefer wearing these at night because the color kind of matches the darkness. The logo at the top is black, and it's sort of more subtle than the white logo at the top of the 600. Whereas the black and the blue here, they kind of clash in a way, but at the same time, it looks kind of cool. I don't know, like it's kind of growing on me. You got the Mass Drop logo on the inside of the headband near the ear cup. The lettering, of course, they brought back. So we've got the HD6XX inside the rectangle, same as before. The 600's lettering on that was white. Well, actually both are white, but you could tell the fonts are a little bit different. So being a graphic designer, I notice this type of stuff. The 6XX is boldened, while the HD portion is a lightweight font. So a little bit different, whereas the 600, it was just a uniform font across the board. But both design-wise are pretty much the same there. Both have the R and L indicators. They're very tiny, and you can barely see them underneath the lettering. The other difference, of course, I mentioned was the terminations going into the ear cups on the 6XX resembled that of the 650. A lot easier to get out, push back in, whereas the 600s had the smaller ones. They were kind of a little bit of more of a pain to pull out. One thing I liked that the 600 did was they made red for right and black for left, so it was a lot easier to quickly determine which side is which. Now with the 6XX, it's all black. So yeah, we have the velour ear cups on both. They're going to wear out roughly the same over time, but fortunately all parts are still replaceable on the newer iteration, 6XX. For each time I say 6XX, take a shot. You will not probably survive. You'll be dead. Headband adjustments, same. Still got that sliver of metal, I think metal, for the adjustment. The cups still rotate the same way, so they don't, or the cups still move in the same way. They don't rotate. They just move a little bit out and in just to get a good fit on your head. So what about comfort? Both about the same. The 6XX, I noticed, tends to dig into your head at the top after about 2 hours. Overall, these are some of the most comfortable headphones you're going to be wearing. I've actually felt like the 600 is a little more comfortable with those 4 separate pads. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, or if it's just that I noticed the 6XX more because I was wearing it for a longer period of time. I don't know. I've had the 600 since December of 2016, and I really haven't had an issue with it digging. So I don't know what that's all about. So comfort, I would say I would give to the 600. It feels more snug on your melon, like snug like a bug in a rug. It's a bit better of a fit. The clamp force is lighter on the 6XX. For some reason, I enjoy the fit more on the 600. I don't know why. I guess it's more, I don't know, it's more snug. There's something about it that's different, but yeah, so what about the sound? The main difference here is that the HC600 sounds a lot more aggressive in the mid-range. I had a inkling that this was going to be the case. I can't listen for extended periods of time with the 600, and that's always been an issue for me. Anybody that tells you otherwise, they're lying. By contrast, I didn't want to take the 6XX off, and it has a similar sound to the 650, but I felt like the 6XX strikes a perfect balance between the two. So it's got some it's got some crispness like the crispness. It's got some crispness like the 600, but also it retains. It's not too aggressive or forward or in your face like the 650, but it's not as warm as the 650, I don't think, from what I remember. It's very relaxing, but still lively. The 6XX has more air, and it's a little bit more feathery in its presentation. Now, some people may not like this. I talked to a guy on Instagram and said he liked the headphone, but he sent it back because he felt like it was maybe too sterile sounding for him. I think that was the thing. To me, it has this natural grace, very effortless, and it's not trying too hard, whereas the 600 is definitely trying hard to impress you. It's more mellowed out, like Cheech and Chong.
Hey, man. Am I driving okay? I think we're parked, man. Oh, shit.
The 6XX also sounds a bit more open, I noticed. So it gives off the impression that the soundstage is a little bit better. It might actually be better. I think it is a tad better than the 600. The 600's vocals are just too forward and too, like, they're invasive. You know, they're trying to shout at you, and that's always been the issue. And it hasn't changed here. In fact, listening to a 6XX only further cements and solidifies that notion that the 600s are too forward. And of course, you can always EQ them down like Metal 571, EQs everything. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to not listen to the 600 anymore. We're just going to listen to the 6XX and be happy. So I'd say the 6XX is more professional sounding, more refined. I made this weird analogy to like a mature girl versus a very immature girl on my blog. So why don't you go check it out? This is probably just going to be more of the same, but I made official notes on paper that I will link you to. And you better read them. So amps, I was using the K3 to the JDS Atom, just the K3, as well as the Dragonfly Red. So I used 3 amps here. Sources, of course, Tidal, master files, FLAC, lossless, etc. First track is Miles Davis's Blue and Green. One back and forth listen revealed the mids on the 600 to be more forward and less relaxing.
Yeah, you already said that.
The saxophone in particular sounded more aggressive here. Another note of contention is air and texture. 6XX seems to excel better at both. I got a sense that the 600 is a bit clammier, like my nose, and more congested, like me. The 6XX seems to open things up to a greater degree. On Jones' Take Me On, that's the song that I noticed the difference between these two headphones probably the most, because it's more of just a vocal passage. The mid-range here is again proven to be the difference. The vocals on the 600 sound more aggressive and in your face, while the 6XX's vocals sit perfectly in the mix and the song sounded lighter and more effortless by contrast. I think the 600 sounds a little bit rough around the edges at times, a little bit, I don't know, I wouldn't say grainy, but just a little bit more brash, maybe a little bit not as refined. With KLLO's potential, everything on the 600 sounded more forward and aggressive. Vocals were louder, snares had a crisper sound, and the 600 seems to be a tad brighter and more lively versus the more relaxed sounding 6XX. Now, when you put on a 600, you're immediately inclined to think, wow, this is better, like I like this more. And that's true for the first, I don't know, 10 minutes. And then you just want to put back on the other headphone because it just becomes too much. And I think that's the main takeaway here. I'm not even going to go into the rest of this. Yeah, I don't need any more notes to tell me this shit. All I need to do is tell you what the deal is. The deal is that you should buy the 6XX because it's the perfect headphone, basically. It reinvigorated my love for music. Honestly, it did. I was kind of getting burnt out. With this headphone, I just didn't want to take it off, ever. In fact, I'm not going to send it back to Sean. I'm just going to steal it. Amplification, so as you all know, I've reiterated countless times, the 600s have a 97 decibel sensitivity and require a little bit more power from an amp. A little bit less efficient. The 6XX has pretty much identical specs to a 650 in that it's got 103 decibel sensitivity and 300 ohm impedance. So you're going to want to use an amp with both of these, preferably an amp with plenty of power like a JDS Atom. Really anything from JDS Labs. A Dragonfly Red. If you want to get your feet wet, there's absolutely no problem with going with something entry level here like a K3, a FIO K3 or an E10K. Now the K3 does provide a little bit less power, but even so, I still found it to be plenty. Yeah. In most cases, I wasn't even using the gain, but with some songs you'll have to. But it's enough, so whenever someone tells you that a K3 or an E10K can't drive these types of headphones, they're lying. I would just say make sure that whatever amp you use has enough juice, but don't get too hung up on what you go with. There's going to be a lot of different amps that sound good with these types of headphones, and you'll get wildly different recommendations from person to person. I think amps and DACs are kind of overrated. Most sound roughly kind of the same, and pretty much all of them sound great. Like there hasn't been an amp that I've listened to that I've been like, wow, this is horrible. That's why I don't think it's a big deal like what you go with, honestly. People get real nerdy about amps and DACs and like pairings and stuff like that. I really don't. That said, genre, I found that they work with pretty much anything and sound great with anything. Hip hop, indie, pop, rock, even some jazz, although classical does not. It's too boxed in, it's just kind of not pleasant. It doesn't sound good, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely love these with hip hop, although you'll notice that if there's a track that has like a lot of sub bass, it's just not going to hit those notes very well. It's just going to sound kind of bloomy. It has trouble. It rolls off. The bass rolls off. So those really, really deep sub bass hits are going to sound kind of like bad, like a little bit bloated, artificial, kind of a little punchy, kind of needly sounding. But that's the exception and not the rule here. Final word, I'd go with the 6XX every day and twice on Sunday, Holmes. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my growing channel. Let me know what I can do to improve. Let me know what I do well. Let me know what you would like to see next. If you want to support the channel and get early access to blogs and articles and all that type of good stuff and more, hit that Patreon link down below. And with that...
Check 1 2. Hope you enjoyed this review too. It was brought to you by Stu, who, me, the lyrical G, empirical dreams slide through like dream. PC gaming, letting off steam, got bars for days like a prison inmate. A misdemeanor's fate, no debate. When I wake up, okay, start my day with a cup and I pray I don't faint. I'm a saint of the Most High God, of the Most High God.
Colonel. I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick, and the clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
Snake, answer me! Snake! Snake!
Dummy thick.